Welcome to the next edition of Three Goods Brews. Three Goods Brews is our liquid journey into crafted deliciousness, an appreciation of the various styles through our own perspectives of taste, and a celebration of the good people who bring it to us. Hi, my name is Buddy Taylor, and I'm happy to welcome you to this most amazing brewery and this most amazing episode. Joining me down the end, he puts the eek in Greek, coming to us live from the foothills of Mount Olympus, Costas Sangaruli.
Yamas and Yasu, everyone. And to my left, we have none other than the good doctor, Dr. Ed Patinaud.
Hey, everybody. I'm doing better. So, yeah. So we are here with Alan, awesome guy. We are here at Grey Sail in Westerly, Rhode Island. So, Alan, welcome. Thank you.
Well, welcome to you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you making the trip out here on this very pleasant Friday morning. And I know coming all the way, I don't even know where you guys come from. All the way down from
North Provolone.
Like, you're almost in Connecticut.
I know, man. I almost
everybody look to your right. You're looking into Connecticut.
It's scary. So
that's how close you are.
Yeah, no,
I packed an overnight bag and snacks and survival gear, everything.
All the way down 95.
Yeah, all the way from North Provolone.
Oh, 42 minutes, guys. It's really not that.
55.
No. So as Rhode Island is, we always make it sound like it's much further in a grand adventure than what it is. But anyway.
So, Alan, tell us exactly where we are, please.
Oh, you are
the
at
actual physical location.
Yeah, well, you're at technically we're at 65 Canal Street right now, right next to the brewery, which is at 63 Canal Street. So we're sitting in the Grey Sail tap room, overlooking the Grey Sail Brewery and South County Distillers.
Nice.
So you have both Grey Sail Brewery and South County Distillery.
Correct. South County is a sister company of Grey Sail Brewing. So, but as you can see, they're physically attached.
So
awesome.
Well, when did it all start with the stories?
I can't.
When did the story start? The Grey Sail story?
No, your beer story.
My beer. Oh my God, my beer.
You get started, please.
I guess because I was a derelict kid. Started as a high school beer enthusiast that continued into my college days. And my college days, had to be 21. I'm not old enough for the years of being 18 to drink. So, but what I learned in college is that you didn't need to be 21 by beer making ingredients. So, got my hand on some ingredients, made a lot of god awful beer, terrible, but my roommates didn't care. It had the key ingredient in it, alcohol. Mm-hmm. So, crushed them regularly, which allowed me to continue to make new batches and, practice. I won't say it made perfect, but it made better beer. And, so I was in college in the late 80s, graduated in 90. So that was really, and you guys probably looking around, well, maybe not you, buddy, but remember the first craft beer revolution?
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
There was late 80s, early 90s. We had a cool bar at Penn State called Zeno's. I frequented that. All my buddies were drinking Busch pitchers, and they had this passport program around the world in 80 beers. And at the time, it was mostly imported beers because the craft that they had on the menu was Anchor Steam.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anchor Liberty Ale.
Another one.
And this brand new brewery called Sam Adams.
Oh, yes. Did you get heard of that?
Yeah.
They're like local or something, right?
Yeah.
From Boston.
Literally brand new at the time. And so that, as I got to taste different beers and really not having a lot of access to them because, it was hard to find imports other than, at these special bars. Just tried making them myself, as we got into it and just got deeper into brewing and enjoying it. So, when I graduated in 1990, I thought this brewing industry was kind of cool. Thought I might like to get into it. So I put a business plan together and saw that it was going to take a lot of money, which I didn't have access to at the time. And it was a different, there weren't a lot of, microbrewery, equipment manufacturers. And so it was going to take a lot of lot of innovation to try to piece all this together. And, at the time I got a job out of college, I had some disposable income, kind of like that. And then, as I tell people, life got in the way.
As it always does.
Met a girl who became a girlfriend, then became a fiance, then became a wife, and then I had a mortgage, and I had a kid.
Life happens.
Then I had another kid, and I had another kid, and so life.
There.
So, well, I didn't. There was one more after that. But anyhow, I think it was when I turned 40. It was like a bit of an epiphany. When I turned 40, that's when I realized, life wasn't infinite. When you're young, you're going to live forever, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But you're invincible.
But you turn 40, and when you're 20, you're like 40 is ancient, right? Oh my God. And I turned 40. I was like, the years from 20 to 40 went in a blink. So 40 to 60 are going to go even faster. And if I don't do this brewery thing now, I'm going to hit 60 and I'm going to be like, oh, whatever. I'm going to, yeah, exactly. So I took my wife on our 10th wedding anniversary to Portland, Maine, because, this was 2009. They had an awesome beer culture up there. Rhode Island didn't have that yet.
No.
And she's like, all right, this is cool. She's like, you can do it. She's like, but one caveat, you can't quit your day job until this can support everybody. So I was like, no, what's that going to take? 2 years, 3 years? I can suck it up and take care of that. Well, 8 years later, finally built the business, to the point that I could step back from the day job and do this full time. So that was 2018. So kind of 8 years into this is my full-time career, and haven't looked back or regretted anything.
Awesome. What was your day job?
My day job, I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I made active pharmaceutical ingredients. Did that my entire career in New Jersey, and then switched jobs up here into Rhode Island. Worked in Coventry, Rhode Island for about 17 years, making active pharmaceutical ingredients.
So engineering, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'm a chemical engineer by degree.
So you went from chemical engineering and pharmaceuticals to brewing and distilling, making beer and making whiskey.
Yeah, that's what when I was doing both, I just, my story was I made drugs during the day and beer at night.
Well, that's not wrong, folks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Your first beer that was, you're like, all right, this is good. I want to go with everybody. What was the first one?
It was out of Charlie Papazian's, the recipe out of Charlie Papazian's Joy of Home Brewing book, and it was a honey pilsner.
Oh, nice.
Here, and it was it was really, really delicious, really delicious. And it was the first one. I was like, wow, I can make something that is not a drain pour. So, and I was excited about that. And that once I made a beer that was decent, then, really got excited about it. And
talking about decent beers.
Yeah. Oh, let's dive in.
Let's dive on it.
And so number one started as our 14th anniversary beer. It's Pilsner, and it's an Italian Pilsner. So, we chose to do an Italian Pilsner because it's really an ode to where we are here. We're in the north end of Westerly, which has, like much of Rhode Island, has a very strong Italian heritage. And the building that we're overlooking, the brick brewery building, actually its original purpose, it was built as a macaroni factory. That was one of the coolest parts about renovating that building whenever we started up. This is a rainy October night, and we're getting close to opening the doors. And one of the last things we needed to do was hang the Grey Sail sign. And up at the top of the building, there was plywood, up there, and it was kind of lagged into the brick behind it. And our sign wouldn't sit flush on it. So we're like, okay, well, let's take that plywood down. Mm-hmm. We took the plywood down, and it was just covering the original chiseled granite block sign of the Westerly Macaroni Manufacturing Company. So we're like, well, we're not covering that up with our sign. So we've got to pay homage, to the history of this building. So we just dropped our sign. Our sign sits below the original granite block sign. So that was really the cool. It was like this, archaeological dig, just kind of finding this little piece of Westerly history.
And that's not a hard thing to do in this state. I mean, there's so many old manufacturing buildings and mills and towns, and we're coming up on 250 years for the country, and we've been here since the beginning. So tends to be a lot of stuff that ends up getting uncovered. We've talked to some other folks, for example, Jeremy, when we were talking to Jeremy at the Guild, same thing there. They start uncovering things and they're like, okay, we're going to keep this original. We're going to keep that. Point was the same thing. Yeah. They're building the
hammer factory.
Yeah. Yep. So,
right.
But, so speaking, we know we're here in Westerly. Why Westerly? Why here? Why this town?
So Westerly is the town that my wife and I settled in when we moved from New Jersey to Rhode Island back in 2000. And this was not our original plan, though, for the brewery. We were originally looking in Stonington, Connecticut, and we had a lot of discussions at the Velvet Mill, which is a old mill facility in the borough in Stonington, and they made velvet, thus the Velvet Mill. We got zoning approval in Stonington. Things were going well. Had a lot of discussions with the folks at the Velvet Mill, but just we were never able to really nail down a lease deal that worked for us. So we just didn't. And honestly, I had already ordered the equipment. I bought all the equipment used from overseas. It was already on the cargo container on its way when everything fell through in Stonington. So we put everything in storage and just kind of held out hope that something was going to come through. Now, I knew this building was vacant, but it had wood floors from front to back, and I just wasn't creative at the time. Just thinking, well, these wood floors are not going to support brewing equipment, so I kind of put it on the back burner. And then my neighbor stumbled upon it on an ad in the Westerly Sun. He circled it. He said, "Hey, how about this building?" And I was like, "Well, I'd already looked at that building. It's not going to work." But then I started to think outside of the box a little bit. I was like, "Well, you know what? If I rip those floors out and I just put some fill in to bring it up to ground level, pour some concrete, and it's a little bit smaller than what I wanted, but it's better than nothing right now." And so anyhow, it's in April of 2011, we closed on that building, and worked with a great contractor that helped us renovate it, and the infrastructure in place that we needed to be able to brew out of that building. And it's one of those things where just it wasn't the plan, but I'm so grateful that it worked out the way that it did, because I absolutely love having a business in Westerly. Not only because it's our hometown, it's just a great place to do business. Just great people here, great community, great community, and we're supportive of the community, but it's just so reciprocal because the community is just so supportive of us, and again, just grateful that for whatever reason things. I'm a firm believer that things just work out the way that they're supposed to, and in this particular case, it definitely worked out best for us.
You mentioned the old macro, that's your beginnings. What is that? Starting like 1920s? Yeah, right, early 1920s. I think.
The early 20s. Is when it may have even been the late teens that building was built.
And then this house
that we're in now is coming up on 100 years. I think it was the late 20s that this house was built. And again, another, just look around the room that we're in with right
out of the Gilded Age. How is the history and the culture of the town?
Yeah, let's talk about this house.
Pour into your beers.
Well, again, so we're drinking Perla right now. So this Italian Pilsner. So that certainly is, something we used Italian malt, you put in it, and then just, some noble hops, some German noble hops in it. And, again, we just try to be supportive as possible of the town. We do a lot of fundraiser activities. We work with a lot of, if not all, the nonprofits in the town, and just help them be successful.
And, this, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to talk about this for a second, because this beer is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So these guys know I'm hitting everything in today. That I'm a huge Pilsner fan. Love Pilsners. Italian Pilsner's not always that much, because there were some of them where it's almost like, this would be, what a skunk tastes like if I curate them and throw them in a blender and added some, water, maybe. So some of them, they're just, they've got like that kind of skunky flavor, and so some of them I'm like, no, I don't like them. But this one's delicious. This is absolutely fantastic. I love it. This is a really, really good Italian Pilsner. So all you Italians in the state, get down here.
Yeah, get down. Well, or just get it from your package store as well. If you
do that.
Yeah, so it's out there as well. So
nice.
So
very nice.
How did you come about in this building like this? We've been to so many breweries. Like this building is just it's unique and incredible.
Yeah,
I think this is probably the best tap room we've ever been in.
No, thanks. So it's part of our growth story.
So what is this building?
In 2011 when we started, we were just that brick building, right? And it had a small dock on where you see that massive metal structure now. It had a small dock on that footprint instead. And so that was 2011. In 2013, we acquired on past the brewery building, the next adjacent property over, which was a small house with a detached garage in the back. Sure. And we turned the detached garage into kind of like a makeshift cold box. And we used the house as kind of our office and some light manufacturing that we folded our boxes for canning and things like that. And then in 2015, we bought this property from our former neighbor, and primarily I bought it because 2014 is when we launched Captain's Daughter. All right, and it literally blew the walls off this brewery, and it was at that point, it was, how can we make more beer and make it faster? So it was just crazy. So at that point, I knew I needed to switch over to a silo, but I needed this property. All right, because the property of this house literally went right up to the brewery wall, practically. It's like 5 feet off. So, and it just so happened that our former neighbor was, looking to sell the property. So, it just worked out. I didn't have any vision for a tap room here. I literally just wanted the land so that I could put the silo in, and then knew that I was going to need a bigger chiller, which is, the white unit over there. And that's all that I really cared about. My wife had the vision for, well, we have this house now. Why don't we, turn it into a tap room? We had talked about doing that with a small house that we purchased on the other side of the property, but that it really wasn't big enough. And here with the courtyard that we have outside, she had a lot of vision that I didn't. So I really
thank God for that.
I have to give her all the credit for it. So in 2015, we opened this. I shouldn't say we moved our tap room from up top. I don't know if any of you guys were down in the early years when we ran our, you buy a pint glass. Again, this is before you could sell a pint of beer out of a brewery. And yeah. So you'd come in, you'd buy a pint glass. We had 4 poker chips in it, and each one of those poker chips was a free sample. As long as you just buy the pint glass, but technically you can come in and just ask for any sample, and I had to provide it anyhow. So, but it worked. It worked out well for us, but it got crowded there. We had a lot of overflow into the sidewalk, and again, especially after Captain's Daughter was released, things just got crazy. Just got crazy for us. So, April 2015, we were able to open the doors over here, and then it's just kind of grown and evolved over time as well over here. The courtyard was basically just a massive overgrown garden when we started, and we just cleared it out over time and put in the put in the covered areas, the picnic tables, the bocce floor.
This has got to be the most unique and interesting tap room I think that we've ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
9 out of 10 times it's inside the brewery.
Right.
It's in space or whatever. But
right, which I'll be honest, I love. I think I prefer. Like I love going to breweries. I love being in a brewery, drinking beer and
see all the shiny.
Yeah, that is one thing that I struggled with early. It's like, you're just over here and it's just, you're not connected to the brewery, but it's certainly grown on me over time. And the fact you can look out, it is unique.
Yeah, you can look out the windows and see.
Right.
Like we pulled into the parking lot and we can see everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But then to come in here and it's like, wow.
Right.
Like
but I mean,
and that's just the architecture and everything that's involved.
And honestly, it's the way it had to work with the space that we were working with. So we, again, we got this opened in 2015, and then in 2017 we took down the house on the other side in the detached garage, and we built the addition. And I call that, and that addition is a bigger space than the original brewery, and I just call that the brewery the captain's daughter built.
Yeah.
Because again, it's all on that one beer that
it's sitting in the side. It might not be special because it's not in the brewery. Someone like myself, Alan, my great grandparents and beyond all came from Wesley, all stone cutters. It kind of takes me back to the age that they lived in here in Wesley. People have a beer in this genre. It's special. It's a unique experience for sure.
Yeah. No, it is unique. It is unique. So, and next week it really starts for us because we are a seasonal town. And it is we call it a kind of a quintessential, sleepy New England seaside town. It is quiet here in January, February, and March. And then, April, you get those nice days. It starts to pick up.
Yeah.
Next weekend's going to be crazy. Mm-hmm. It's going to slow down a little bit till the kids are out of school.
Yep.
Other than June 13th weekend, because that's Taylor Swift's wedding weekend. So, as one of our westerly neighbors here,
little known secret.
I can't escape her. I can't escape her. I can't. Every time I think I'm going to go a day without Taylor Swift, somebody brings it up. Today it's you so far. It's, usually
you're in Westerly. It's got to come up in Westerly.
It's usually his wife or something, or I hear it on the radio and I quickly change the channel. No disrespect to Taylor. That's not for me.
She's pretty good, but
I assume she's going to be listening. So
if we have another beer, it might help to ease the pain.
All right. Well, we're going to move into Little Sister. So
Little Sister
was really inspired by Captain's Daughter. When we brewed it, kicking around the idea of, Captain's Daughter Light, it comes in about 4.7, 4.8%.
Holy crap.
Has a very similar hop bill and grain bill to Captain's Daughter, just less of it. Captain's Daughter weighs in at 8.5%.
So looks like an easy pilsner.
Yeah.
Colors.
Yeah. But just, nice, easy drinking IPA. Kind of in that all day IPA category.
Oh yeah.
Just easy to drink.
I have a question for you. Where did you come up with the name Grey Sail? What is Grey Sail? What does that mean?
So Grey Sail is, it's funny again, because this whole idea of starting a brewery been with me for years. And honestly,
and we appreciate you following your dream.
Thank you very much. Naming it was always a struggle. And especially as I was getting back into, okay, we're going to do this. What am I going to call it? What am I going to call it? Because I wanted it to be personal. I wanted it to have a local connection. I wanted it to have a regional connection. And I was like, well, okay, great. What's that going to be? And literally, I remember, sitting, I was on a family vacation in Galveston, Texas, of all places. And it was just kind of this overcast day. And I don't know if you've ever been to Galveston, but it's just hot. And, you sit on the beach and it's just hot and the water's hot and you're looking at oil rigs out in the horizon. And again, it's gray. And anyhow, I just started thinking about, okay, sitting on the Squamicut and looking out over the water and, especially in the morning and you get the mist and sailboats. And I was like, all right, well, it's gray. The sails are gray. But before that, it was the one name that was kind of going back and forth in my head was actually naming it after my daughter, because my oldest daughter, from the time she was old enough to walk, if I turned my head, my beer bottle would be in her hand. This little 2-year-old that just had this affinity.
You trained her well.
Yeah. For beer. So, and her name's Grace. So, again, I'm thinking, well, okay, Grace Ale. Okay, it's a cute story. Not everybody's going to appreciate it, though. There's going to be some parents like, how you let your dog drink alcohol? But again, this whole experience, it all just clicked. It's like, Grace Ale, just Grey Sail. It just morphed, into Grey Sail. And it's like, all right, well, I just did. I've got the personal connection. I've got the, I live in a friggin' ocean state, right? You TF Green, when you come, down from the arrival, what do you see though? You see the sailboat sitting right at the bottom of the arrival steps. And so, we're in the ocean state, and then we're a coastal community. So it doesn't matter, any coastal community is going to have sailboats and the whole Grey Sail concept.
The nautical theme just makes sense.
Yeah. So that's, and it's funny because people, I've been asked a million times, oh, are you a sailor? It's like, no, I actually get seasick. I prefer sitting on the shore, but I love sitting on the shore, just looking out over at the water, and just, it's such a stress reliever, and just there, just drinking a beer and just taking it all in. I don't find anything more pleasurable than that.
So as a kid, my grandfather would always take us to the beach. We'd go to the lake, go to the beach, go to wherever. And the man did not go into the water ever. I never even saw him dip his toes in the water, because I guess he almost drowned as a kid. But anyway, so we're sitting there, and he'd always bring his binoculars to look at the sailboats out there. And we're like, oh, Grandpa, what are you doing? You're checking out? And he's like, oh, I'm looking at the sailboats. I'm like, Grandpa, there's no boats out there. What are you looking at? So plenty of sights to see at Scarborough Beach,
Yes, that there are.
Yeah.
That there are.
Now, so you said you have 4 daughters, right?
I have a son and 3 daughters.
3 daughters and
a
son.
Yep, my oldest is my son, Ryan, and then Grace, Emily, and Mary. So, and they all, Ryan, our Hayes Hocan, he's kind of the model for that with there. Grace, she has the brewery, so she's Grey Sail. Emily, who just turned 21 in December, is the captain's daughter. She was the model of the masthead. She was 8 at the time that the artist portrayed it. I just said, take her and add, 14 years to her, and did a pretty good job. I mean, now that she's 21, there's some resemblance there. And then Mary, our littlest one, is the little sister.
Nice. That's the same setup as me. I got 3 daughters and 1 son.
There you go.
There you go. My little one is more than a handful. That's all I can say. She's going to be 4 in August, and God bless her, man. That's all. She keeps me feeling young, because if I don't, she's just going to run all over me. She thinks she's going to have the most spunk out of all the girls. She's got the most sass, I think, already. I don't know what it is. The last one.
It doesn't. Yeah, and it doesn't take long for that personality to show.
Ooh, sure doesn't.
So I'm sorry, I go off there. I'm diving into the captain's story right now.
No. Hold on, pause. What's the third beer, Alan?
And third beer, just coincidentally, happens to be Captain's Daughter.
So what is Captain's Daughter?
So Captain's Daughter is a 8.5% double IPA, just really loaded up with Mosaic and Citra hops. Launched it in 2014, and it. Again, we put a beer out there. Never expected the response, that we got.
What kind of response did you get?
It was great. It was crazy. It was we for 3 years we could not make enough. Right, 4 years could not make enough of this beer. And which was good and bad. We had a lot of people that literally just got angry, that they couldn't get enough beer, or couldn't get enough of this beer. We get calls from customers, in Connecticut that were getting charged, $14 a can, for Captain's Daughter. And we had to explain. Look,
Supply and demand, folks.
I said we sell it to our distributors. It's the same price when we sell to the distributor. The distributor sells it to the retailers. It's the same price. What the retailers do with it, completely out of our control.
Right.
But it's simple economics. Supply and demand. And is when the demand goes up,
so does price.
So does price. Yeah. And that's what happened. So that was a unique experience. But retailers were keeping some supply behind for their for their special customers. Of course. Things would get posted. What store's getting it when, and people would rush out. We were constantly just selling out. It was just a foregone conclusion. It was going to be sold out of here. And it was not. So Captain, I don't know. I still to this day, I don't know what made it the beer.
So Captain's Daughter is your jackpot. Your full 7.
Yeah, and it still is. It is a dinosaur like craft beer. Barometer. It's past its 10th anniversary. It'll be 12 years old in October. Mm-hmm. Wow. And it's still growing in volume.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's still growing in volume. So
how much was it? Was it due to the demand of the population or to your own character? Do you prefer the double IPA, or did you put it out for the people?
You know what? It was so at the time we had our flagship ale, which is a cream ale, because I thought in 2011, I thought the IPA market was just completely saturated, and that it couldn't handle one more IPA. So I was like, what's the market need? It needs a good craft, sessionable cream ale. That's what it needs.
Awesome.
And again, it did okay. And then Flying Jenny came next, which was, and again, so I'm resistant to an IPA. I was like, all right, well, we'll call it an extra pale ale. It's kind of an IPA, but it doesn't quite. ABV is a little bit lower than what the standard at the time was for an IPA. And again, it did okay. But 2 years into it, I was like, I'm not leaving. I talked earlier about my wife's condition that I could. This business had to support itself before I could leave my day job, and I was like, I'm never leaving my day job. Like that panic set in is like
anxiety. Yeah.
So people, so I'd cross paths with people. Oh man, you own a brewery. That must be so awesome. And I was like, well, it's kind of an expensive hobby, but I drink for free.
Yeah.
There's that, folks.
And then anyhow, it was like, in 2014 and talking to Josh, my brewer at the time, Josh Latorno. And, we're just kicking ideas around. I was like, well, what, again, it's still resistant to IPA. I was like, what about a double IPA? They seem to be doing well in the market. And like, all right, well, let's give it a shot. So he had done some homebrewed batches and had tried this Mosaic hop. It wasn't being used a lot at the time. And I was like, oh, I really like that. I really like the notes, on that. So let's do that. And, so kicked around, brewed some homebrew scale batches and landed on something that we were pretty happy with. And then we scaled it up, exact same recipe that we did on the small scale, just, scaled it up to 15 barrels at the time. Mm-hmm. And, so we had it in the tanks, we dry hopped it. And, I came here the first time we sampled it out of the fermenter, and Josh is like most brewers, they hate their beer. Yeah. Cause it's never perfect.
Nobody's ever happy.
It's never perfect. They're like, oh, this sucks. And I remember him, taking this beer and drinking it, and his eyes just got as wide as I'd ever seen him. He's like, oh my God. He said, this is an amazing IPA. And, when I heard him say it and recognize that, I was like, oh, all right, cool. Maybe we're onto something. And then we launched it at Beervana.
Yes.
Up at when it was at Rhodes in the Patuxent.
Yes.
And it just got a buzz there that night. You know, it was like the beer of the show, just this buzz that came around. And that was, you know, that just had the right kind of connectors, you know, there. You know, I mean, that was all the Rhode Island beer enthusiasts. And that show would actually bring people in from outside of Rhode Island. And so it just really kind of got that buzz, and it just ended up being that perfect storm.
Right beer at the right time.
Yeah.
The stars aligned.
And then after that, it was just like, boom, you know, everybody wanted that beer. And it was like, I mean, I couldn't even get the hops. I had to, basically for a year, I bought out every homebrew shop in this country, you know, that had 1 pound bags of Mosaic hops. And that's what was going into Captain's Daughter, you know, 1 pound bags of Mosaic homebrew hops, because I couldn't get it through any of the supply. It just wasn't available. Mm-hmm. And that took 2 years to actually be able to start contracting, you know, the Citra and the Mosaic hops that we needed to be able to brew the beer. And then once I kind of got that worked out, we had the silo at that point. I had to start scaling up the equipment inside the brewery. We had to put in a bigger mash tun. We had to bring in bigger fermenters. We had to build another building just to make more of the beer. So
without a doubt, you know, Captain's Daughter is probably, you know, your most recognizable beer. Probably, I'm sure, the most drank. Everybody talks about it.
I think
it's fantastic.
Yes, I love it.
I would say it's probably, I don't know numbers, like I don't know, but I would say this is probably the most successful beer in Rhode Island.
Probably.
Oh yeah.
I would say hands down.
It's usually like go through the roof when you guys went from the 12-ounce cans to the 16-ounce tall girl. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and that was because, you know, with the 12-ounce cans, we don't really, that volume hasn't really continued to grow, but it didn't really shrink at all. Because people that like 12-ounce cans like 12-ounce cans, but it's the 16-ounce cans. They continue every year to grow, you know, more and more 16-ounce cans, which is great. And it still does great on draft. You know, the whole bar restaurant industry is in a little bit of a turmoil just with the economy. And
I don't think there's a restaurant in Rhode Island that I've gone to that doesn't have Captain's Daughter.
Again, we're fortunate because Rhode Islanders love Rhode Island products, you know, and they support it, and they're proud to say that this is a Rhode Island product, and they're so supportive. And we're just fortunate that the Captain's Daughter has kind of fallen into that bucket, you know, of a Rhode Island product. You know, Jen and I joke we're not native Rhode Islanders, you know, and we know that, and people, you know, like,
I'm sure you've been adopted at this point.
You've been adopted. Congratulations. But especially here in Westerly, like, especially in Westerly, like, if your grandparents aren't from Westerly, you're not from Westerly. Right? Being a guy from Westerly. You know, and I'll tell people I'm not from Rhode Island, but you know, my kids are. And but they're just first generation Rhode Islanders. Yeah. But no, it's been great. It's been great to be kind of accepted into the culture and being a part of it. And we're just super, super proud.
Now, with that said, what do you think is your most understated beer that you have?
Interesting.
Let's go the other way.
Honestly, I think it's our flagship ale, the very first one that we produced. It is. I
love that beer.
It is the beer that has won the most medals for us, you know, in competitions. It is the one, you know, it's never won at a national level, but it's gone through multiple rounds. It's like, it's gone further than any of our other beers, you know, in kind of the national competitions. And, you know, it's consistent, it's crushable. And I think it's underrated. We had Michelle, our former brewer, just worked with us forever. You know, flagship was her beer. You know, she started made up T-shirts for us one year with, you know, hashtag drink more flagship, you know, and just try to run campaigns just to, you know, get it out there, you know, because it's really just a great, you know, lawnmower beer.
I mean, folks, seriously, if you haven't had it, you need to have it. It's at the package stores. You can find it. You can get it. It's easy. It is a delicious beer.
Yeah.
Personally, that to me, that's one of my favorites that you guys do.
Yeah.
I love it. It's because, like you said, it's something you can drink it without you don't feel like you're getting weighed down. You don't feel like it's overpowering. It's a great beer. It really is. Now, you guys do seasonals. We're going to get to that in a minute. Yeah. I see these guys drooling already. But how do you decide as a group or an owner, what beers you're going to do that are just going to be seasonal, or it becomes like, okay, this is going to be a year-round product now?
Yeah. So actually, I would have pointed her out because she just left. We just had a sales meeting upstairs, and Carrie, who's our sales director, who just is on the way to another meeting because she's constantly out there moving these products. She's in the trade constantly. She's in the industry, trends, everything that's going on, and she's just constantly generating ideas. I think this would do well. I think that would do well. Pitches them back to the brewery staff here, and 9 times out of 10, what Carrie wants, Carrie gets might be 19 out of 20 times, actually. So, again, and a lot of it comes with discussions from our distributors, our partnered, distributors, and they're like, they'll throw ideas. Last year we did Raspberry Reef,
which I love,
which was, it's a wheat, just a wheat ale that we fruited with raspberries. This year, they're like, well, that did well. People are kind of asking for blueberries. Like, all right, well, we'll give that a try. So yeah, Blueberry Break is what we came out with. This year. In addition, Raspberry Reef's still available. In fact, we'll even mix the two here. You kind of get the berry thing going, the raspberry blueberry thing going.
That's a good idea.
You have really good stouts too. Yeah. I mean, you've got Dave's, right, and you've got Leaning Chimney.
We've got that's our small porter. We got Midnight Maiden as well, which I think's.
Stouts, but I mean darker beer.
Yeah. Really solid stout, Midnight Maiden. So, the stout market is what it is. It's not what the lighter beer market is, right? But those that like stouts, they like stouts. Yeah, and frankly, Guinness is having a massive resurgence right now in the market, and that's I think that's good for the stout market in general because. Yeah. Most people look at a Guinness and like, oh God, I guess like motor oil, and it's not. It's lighter than a Budweiser.
That's just it. People they equate the visual.
You drink with your eyes.
How it's going to be.
You drink with your eyes. Yeah.
Exactly. Dark equates to thick and heavy, which is not the case.
Yeah. Right. So the other thing that I always get is that the first time anybody that I know tries a Guinness, they're like, "This is flat."
Yes, I think it is.
I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Right.
I'm like, that's how it's supposed to be. It's not, they're expecting this heavy carbonation that they're used to, all the bubbles and everything else. They get it and they're like, oh, it's not heavy. It's not thick. It's, they're expecting something.
Yeah. Well, that goes with the whole cask movement that, with the microbrewery resurgence, cried, buddy, I heard you talking earlier when we had the Brewers, festival here, and we had the casks set up out in the distillery before it was
a small space.
Yeah, and we still have a cask engine over here. It doesn't get used because it just. And I love cask. I love cask beer. Anytime I ever am in a place with a cask, I will absolutely get it. It just never caught on, which is. Unfortunate, the malted barley, when it was here in Westerly, once a week, it was cask night, and the cask just went on the bar and, put the firkin on the bar and crush it. And then it would stay on until it kicked, usually Friday night, maybe Saturday, depending on the crowds that particular weekend. But we have a whole fleet of firkins and pins, and they just don't go out because it just, unfortunately, the market just never really developed because of it's flat and it's warm.
It's like, guys, expand your palates and try things.
Right.
It reminds me of if you ever had an innocent gun.
No, I have not.
So it's an import. I want to say Ireland. I can't remember exactly where it's from, but it's one of those where it's a cask beer. So you get different notes, and you get some of the bourbon and the scotch and then the ale, and you get all these different notes, and it's good. If you guys ever see it, try it. I'll have to pick some up for these two over here to taste and try. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good. But it's the same thing. Some people, they see it and they're like, I'm gonna stick with what I know.
Yeah.
So tell us about what we're drinking next.
Yes.
Buddy, this has got to be good. I can tell you it's got to be good because for extra credit, Buddy's got his full pour over there.
Right. I was in the store like 3 weeks ago. We were doing an online show. And I always, I get to the Grey Sail section of the floor and I see Captain Todd and I'm like, it's his woman. Oh. I had to have that. Well, sure, it's going to be sour or whatever, but such a great wheat.
Just a wheat. Yeah, just an easy drinking beer, fruited with the blueberries. Again, it's that, as we talked about earlier, people drink with their eyes, and so I mean, this color, people have always anything, whether it's been a sour or blueberry beer. When we, pour something like this here at the tap room, they fly because people like drinking this color.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes.
Oh, yes. It tastes, it looks like and tastes like purple.
It looks like juice. Right. And then you get those notes of blueberry right up front.
Right. I mean,
right.
It's not a sour blueberry.
No, it's not a sour blueberry. It's a sweet blueberry wheat beer like this.
Right. And we try, we still want it to be a beer.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want it to be a fruit bomb. We don't want it to, we've got our TDs here. If you want something fruity, we've got fruity things. But this, we still want it to be a beer, but we just want to complement that with, in this case, some blueberry colors and blueberry notes.
Yeah, I could drink
the right amount.
I could drink 6 of these while I'm cutting the grass. I may not get to the weed whacking, but I'll definitely get the grass cut with 6 of these guys.
Right.
I love a blueberry beer in the summertime. I love it. I think
blueberry, strawberry, raspberry.
Well, that's just it. It's part of being in this area. You start getting spring and summer, and you get all the berries that go.
Yeah.
Especially South Jersey.
Yeah.
I lived in South Jersey for 6 years, and
it is the Garden State.
You start walking around and it's just blueberries everywhere. So, my daughter be walking around and she's just picking blueberries, and I'm like, okay, great. But, it's got just the right amount of flavor to it of blueberry. It's like you said, it's not a fruit bomb. I was at one place where I think I was with you, where next thing you know, we ordered a blueberry and it actually had these massive blueberries floating in it. And I'm like, I don't think it was a Wachusa.
They're doing a lot with Wachusa there.
Yeah.
They're in the way.
Wahlburger does that, and there's a few other places.
They're in the way, folks. Keep your fruit to the side.
It's a garnish. It's a gimmick.
Yeah.
It doesn't really add anything other than visual.
I know.
Blueberries, even that beer, that's a yellow beer. Yeah, and it doesn't hold you like this. It's just like, ooh, look
at the color.
No, this is absolutely beautiful. And this is a perfect way for us to end this show.
Yeah.
Is drinking this bad boy right here. So, Alan, we want to thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Your hospitality and
my pleasure.
Us in.
The man, the myth, the legend behind
my pleasure.
Daughter.
The girl. Yeah.
Again, I thank you guys for coming all the way down to Westerly.
Well, thank you for sharing your time and your beer with us and your story. We're great. We are pleased to be part of this.
My absolute pleasure. My absolute pleasure.
Sorry.
Buddy, you ready? Take us out, bro.
And I think the man who puts the Eden bread. Yeah, the Eden bread.
Yeah.
The doctor. Quick is the Greekiest man I know in Alan's Grey Sail Brewing. Has been right there. Pretty good Brews. Drink awesome beer, guys.
Cheers.
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 Cheers.